today I am super excited because my guest is also my husband and my business partner, Levy Dagerman. He is a director, he is a producer, he's a writer.
So I saw tons of people swarmed you after the panel, and it was so inspiring to watch. And I was like, you've got something here. You've got to make a book. And here you are. 3 of the projects we have right now are uniquely suited to just be the train and start making them.
So let's pause right there
Yeah.
and just break it down for people.
But what I built out of that is a universe where we can start building with the characters and expanding on the IP and the mythology that we created.
But it sounds like now you're creating music. So you're becoming like a music producer of sorts.
Well, of sorts. We'll put it in quotes because this is using AI.
Hi, thanks so much for tuning in to Be the Train, the podcast based on my book, Be the Train, the mindset and tools you need to make your first feature film, which is actually a bestseller on Amazon. I'm super excited about this podcast. It is for people who are paving their own way, who are being entrepreneurial, who are thinking outside the box, who are staying creative, building their own momentum. And today I am super excited because my guest is also my husband and my business partner, Levy Dagerman. He is a director, he is a producer, he's a writer, but he's also kind of like a mastermind who has a lot of vision and has created a lot of things in our life. And he just started his own company, High Concept Entertainment. And so I'm really excited for him to introduce himself and to delve deep into how he is the train. Dan, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me at our house on the set of Be the Train.
So first of all, I just wanted to shout you out because you're actually the reason why I wrote this book.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I always wanted to write a book and I had a sense for what I wanted to do.
Well, maybe I can tell the story. So basically, I saw Selena on a panel, and she was with a panel with a bunch of very, what we'll say are like important people, you know? So like they ran film funds, they were executives getting movies in theaters, doing all kinds of things. And we've made 2 features together. 3 now. Three features.
Yeah.
At the time, was it 2? No, it was 3. It was still 3. And so basically you were talking about our experience making our first feature and our journey making these 3 features. And I think people found that that was much more concrete and something you could grab onto and relate to. So I saw tons of people swarmed you after the panel, and it was so inspiring to watch. And I was like, you've got something here. You've got to make a book. And here you are, filmfluencer Selena.
Wrote my book thanks to you.
Oh.
And now this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you are also a part of. So, well, first of all, I want to say, I think you're the kind of person who thinks really outside the box and thinks really big. And I wanted to delve into how you came up with High Concept and what is your big vision for that, or where that came from.
Big question. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So High Concept has been a long journey for me. It started with the first feature film I ever wrote, really, which was about a young skateboarder who starts selling weed with high school kids who think they're gangster. And so I was always interested in that kind of world. Maybe I knew high school kids who sold weed and thought they were gangster pretty well.
Okay.
You know, and so I had written about those things from when I was like 18 years old. I was really interested in that world, and I wanted to tell stories about it, kind of like how Martin Scorsese tells stories about the mafia world and the Italian family world, you know?
Okay.
And so I thought that would be a really interesting world to explore because unlike a lot of the crime movies you see, cannabis is kind of like, well, it's a lot of things now, but cannabis is those true crime stories, meets social justice and social action and entrepreneurship. And there's just so many layers and stories that I found you could dig out of this. But going back to that first feature, I was very ashamed of my cannabis stuff because I had a lot of weed shame in my family, which maybe, you know, I was a rebellious high school teenager and it was maybe causing some more problems than not. So maybe understandable. I forgive you guys, parents, but like,
Well, now that you're a parent,
now that I'm a parent, I understand the level of fear as being a parent.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But I felt a lot of shame around the cannabis thing. So I was developing a lot of these stories, but I was developing them kind of secretly. But as I was doing this, I went to AFI, I went to grad school, we got married, we started our production company. We had 2 wonderful kids, had made 3 features now. And all the while I was doing that, I've been developing a slate for this production company, High Concept. And what's really cool about High Concept that ties into Be the Train, I think, is now we're at the point where all 3 of the projects we have, not all of them because we have other projects on a development slate, but 3 of the projects we have right now are uniquely suited to just be the train and start making them.
So let's pause right there.
Yeah.
And just break it down for people. So what does that mean when you say that? When you're like, these 3 projects are ready to be the train. What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is they're all in a different but similar situations. How these projects are the train is they all sort of have a proof of concept that is complete. And we have the deck, and with the feature film Space Weed, we have the script that we've been developing for a number of years. So we feel like we're very well positioned to start building in public. And that's what we're going to do differently, is we're going to build in public with these projects and start sharing from this proof of concept phase as we build the projects and bring them into production and ultimately to release.
So tell me a little bit about that, because I feel like one of the things about you that I really admire, that I think you're really good at, is having this like bigger vision where you think a little outside the box about how to find your audience and about how to get really creative with how you get people interested in your projects.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take, for example, Space Weed, which is, I know, one of the feature films on your slate.
Yeah.
Like, what is something unique about how you're building with that, or something that you think would be inspiring to other creators or filmmakers that's different?
So what I think's really unique about Space Weed is it's a passion project feature film I've been developing for a number of years. That's sort of like Pineapple Express meets Mars Attacks.
Fun.
But what I built out of that is a universe where we can start building with the characters and expanding on the IP and the mythology that we created. And so what I think is really interesting about that is, unfortunately, we're in a time where a lot of people aren't watching as many feature films. So I think we can build fucking Star Wars for aliens smoking weed, but with short form content.
So when you say building a universe, and all of this sounds super fun, where does that universe live? Is it on a website? Is it in the content that comes out? Like, where, like, if, let's say I want to be part of this universe.
So if you want to be part of this universe, you can go to a site called Fungible that I launched, which is similar to a Kickstarter type platform, except it works with both crypto and fiat currency. And so basically you can buy anything via Stripe, and there are different incentives for how you can get involved with the universe. But the simplest way is just click follow, sign up for Fungible and click follow, and we'll generate a unique Martian for you.
Cool.
And the Martian is sort of like, they were really popular a few years back, like an NFT. So it's a unique character that's like a JPEG, but it means a lot more than just the photo, because we're bringing you into this community. And so, I mean, me and you, we made our film You, Me, and Her, and we went on the roller coaster of marketing and distributing that. And that was so exciting. And we're taking what we learned from that, and we want to start building our community from the early stages of development, pre-production. So we're planting our flag saying, this is the movie we want to make, and we're getting started now. And then last thing on the Space Weed universe, because it's very fun, is the Space Weed universe is different from the movie because it's a world where we can expand on the IP and develop things together. But the basic premise of the world is it's reverse Men in Black. So what I mean by that is the pot smoking outlaw Martians are the good guys, and the bad guys are the narcs in suits and the government in this world.
And so, so there's so I love that you're building a universe around it. And so what goes into the universe? So you can follow, you can be a contributor, you can get an alien image for yourself. Is there also...
you can buy the albums. We have three
Oh, okay.
Martian artists we've
Okay.
created. So there's
Amazing.
Queenie T, Emilio the Martian, and Outlaw Jones.
Okay.
And so they're releasing music through the Space Weed Universe Music Group.
Cool.
And so we launched our first album for sale. Well, our first album was called Illegal Aliens by Emilio the Martian.
Okay.
And that kicked off this whole thing. And that's when I was experimenting with AI while we were working on You, Me, and Her. And so by night, I was just on my phone experimenting with AI. And these music videos came out.
Wow.
And then the technology has been so rapidly developing that I've been trying to keep up with it and find different ways to do this, because I'm not a VFX artist at all, but I'm making all of these videos so far on my phone.
But that's kind of incredible that you can, right?
Yeah.
That you have the capacity to do this, and you're not a VFX artist, but it sounds like now you're creating music. So you're becoming like a music producer of sorts.
Well, of sorts. We'll put it in quotes because this is using AI. There are lots of issues with AI that I completely understand, but what's exciting as a creator about using it is for building a world like this, because these are tools that I hadn't had access to before. So I haven't been able to tap into my creativity in a way where I'm talking about Martians and all of this other than what I'm writing on the page.
Yeah.
And so now I'm able to visualize it and expand on the world. And by playing in that sandbox, I'm able to discover more about it.
I understand all the issues with AI as well, but I also think that it is coming.
Yeah.
And it is happening.
Yeah, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't put it back in.
So what do we do?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do and how do we use it to our advantage? How do we help ourselves?
Yeah.
So, like, what are ways that creators right now can help themselves with these tools or create, more exponentially than they used to with what's available to them now?
Well, there's so many different tools that I can't even speak to all the different ways. But what I've learned is there's two different ways of using it. They're the ways to like augment what you're doing and like support it. And then there's the way of cutting corners.
Yeah.
And the way of cutting corners doesn't really work because then you're not really learning or thinking about what you're doing. So like when I make a song, for example, I do it with a prompt, but I run it like 100 to 200 times. So I'm not a music producer, but I am a curator.
Yeah.
And as a director, you're choosing between the things that work.
Yeah.
So I find that this process is still choosing amongst the things that work. And sometimes I get text to video stuff that'll be generated. And I see this all as clay that I can use for these smaller art projects.
Have you had a moment as you're building this company and all of these amazing projects? Have you had a moment where you feel like this is not working? I'm feeling really stuck. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And in those moments, how do you push through those? Because I think that as creatives, we all have these moments. And I think one of the hardest things or one of the biggest things about this whole idea of being the train is like, how do you keep going when it feels really hard to keep going?
Well, I think it's really important to have multiple projects. And the answer to me is to pivot. I mean, a creative life is all about pivoting and finding the ways to go with the flow of what's going on. I've said a few times, like, just be water.
Yeah.
And water finds its way through the cracks.
Yeah.
So it's all about staying positive and trying to keep that positive energy, because I think the positive energy feeds itself.
Yeah.
But I also think that being flexible and being open to all the different things that can happen is one of the most important things to find.
So having a lot of different projects and being flexible and being able to kind of go from like one to the other.
Well, being able to flow from one to the other, because, at first I was like nurturing my one baby project.
Yeah.
And that is a really hard life. Like, it is great to have your one baby project, but it's also nice to have many baby projects because they all move on different timelines.
Yeah.
All your projects aren't going to hit at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really nice to have all of these different ones you can tend to. And it's like, and watching your seeds sprout and seeing them grow. And now we found ourselves in this unique position with 3 of these projects that we're able to start rolling them out.
What can you take from the last 10, 15 years of experience running Two Hands Productions with me, which we've done together, into this new company that you're building now? Is there anything that you're like, Wow, this is definitely something that was a real learning moment for me that now I know looking forward to this next set of projects I'm going to do, I want to make sure I take this.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we did with You, Me, and Her was, I think, the biggest thing. And we've been building towards that each step of making these bigger projects that we've done together. So basically, what I mean is, I think you can't neglect marketing and distribution.
Yeah.
They're as important as production, post production, writing, all of it. And I want to start it very early on because there are different layers of audience engagement. Like I was always taught if you release a trailer, then you're going to cannibalize your audience.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's correct. We did that on You, Me, and Her. We released our trailer during the festival circuit and the algorithm hit and we got like 300,000 views in a couple weeks. And that was like proof of concept that the movie actually was working and we were able to leverage that. And the truth is, it didn't cannibalize our audience at all because those people will go see it in theaters if they're interested. And if not, they'll forget about it very quickly.
Yeah.
And you're not reaching the wide general audience you're trying to reach later. So I think they're different circles of audiences. And the goal is to reach a core audience and try and cultivate a community of super fans and collaborators who will all speak about the project as you go out and ideally create like a snowball effect doing that. And then just like what we're doing now with, podcasts is I believe podcasts like this can support art and really important projects like your book. So like by talking around the subjects of what we're doing, we're able to keep it in the zeitgeist and explain it and adapt it to what's going on in the culture and what's going on in the creative community and what's going on in the industry. And so by contextualizing it this way, you bring in a core audience that will hopefully help spread it much more when you're going wide.
Well, and talk to me a little bit about, I mean, this is not related to high concept, but this was just, you kind of came up with our marketing campaign, like the initial concept for the idea was your idea. And it was this very big kind of thought through idea. And I'm curious if you can explain a little bit what it was and how you came up with it and how you feel like that has affected us.
2 or 3 sides to the campaign I created for You, Me, and Her, basically. And the first one involved it had to be a theatrical movie. And the second one involved we have to eventize the screenings and make it more than just a movie. And the third one is we have to capture that all and create content around it to support our art project we really, really care about. Because a lot of people talk about like the division between content and movies. And I think there is a clear division. But what I think's really, because content's like what you're digesting really fast on your phone. And you may or may not be paying attention. It's less of an immersive experience than a film. But what I think is really important about content is that's where people's eyeballs are now.
Yeah.
So the idea was all of these events we're creating, we're going to capture really great content and spread it across the internet to try and find different ways to capture people. Or not capture people, but, you know, capture our audience.
Capture people's attention.
Capture people's attention.
Yeah.
So that meant we were experimenting on all kinds of different social media platforms. Like Selena, you do more on Instagram. So we were focused on your Instagram and the page's Instagram.
Yeah.
And then I was writing on Substack. We also experimented with TikTok.
And
we tried a little bit with Twitter, but then Twitter became a dumpster fire. But, you know, so we experimented with all these different platforms. And the idea is to run an omni-platform campaign.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to rely on any social media. We also had a really robust website.
But we also did some brand partnerships and some influencer partnerships.
Oh, yeah. And all of our partnerships. So we sent out 250 influencer boxes. Selena, you led the charge on that and fucking killed it.
Thank you.
And then we also had all the brand partners, which you also found us 20 amazing brand partners after thousands of emails.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy. Through those partnerships, the idea was to further decentralize our social media to spread the word so it's connecting with other people's audiences that go farther than ours.
Yeah.
So those are the ideas that I want to incorporate in all the projects in the future. I said it on one of these calls, like, you know, Mercedes doesn't design their perfect fucking new model and then just give it away to someone else to sell on the used car dealership who half cares about it. You know, they're going to sell it wholeheartedly because that's what represents them in this time and period.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is really important, is for creators to embrace this next step of marketing and distribution. I think creators have, but what I mean is filmmakers.
Would you call yourself more of a filmmaker or a creator now that you're using all these hats?
I think I've always been both. Like, I've always wanted to be like a director. I've always been and wanted to be both. I always wanted to be a director from a very young age. I watched my grandmother on stage in the theater. I was really inspired by films. Films were everything to me. So I always knew I wanted to be a director. And then I also fell into becoming a creator through skateboarding and making skateboard videos. But it was before it was really easy to shoot on phones and edit on your phone and all that kind of stuff. So it was the technical side that really, like, I loved, and I really tuned into that. What I didn't realize as I was doing both things, because I was writing feature film scripts and learning filmmaking, is how close the two were together. And technology is really what's merged the two.
Yeah.
So, like, I was making YouTube videos while I was in pre-production for my short films in film school.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing all of this stuff, but I didn't see them as the same thing. And I still view them a little differently because I have such reverence for the art of filmmaking and the form of film and cinema. So I think that's really important. And I separate that from the idea of content, like what we're filming now on our phones.
Yeah.
But they are a lot closer together now than they were when I was 13.
Well, they're also feeding each other. And like now, for example, there's verticals, right? Which basically what it is. No, I mean, what it is a film that's shot on your phone that's to be watched on your phone.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what Quibi was for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's interesting because I think the world is moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that, you know, we shouldn't have great narrative feature films that are shot, you know, cinematically. I think that will always exist. But I think that it is interesting to know that, like you said, both the creator like sphere and the film.
But I think you should also have a second unit with the characters on set doing something fun that you shoot with like a BTS team, because actors have a lot of time on set.
Yeah.
So if you're strategic and build that out, you can really develop a fun strategy, and it's a good time to do that during production.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. What would you say your 13-year-old self would call success? And what would you call success now?
I think my 13-year-old self would be really stoked on everything that's going on right now. I think they'd be really...
Like everything you're doing.
Everything we're doing with our career, with High Concept. I mean, that was early days of High Concept. Don't get me wrong. 13, no, Matthias. But I think my 13-year-old self would be very happy with all the stuff we're doing, and just hope that it keeps building, believing in ourselves, and trying to push the boundaries of what we want to do creatively and monetize it more, because unfortunately, from my 13-year-old self, the movie industry's changed completely.
Yeah.
It's changed completely. So if I was in the position I am now in 13-year-old self, having made 3 features, it'd be a completely different pay scale even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it's just a different journey. And it's always going to be, you know, I'm sure it was very different then too. It's always, especially for independent film, which was in its heyday at that time. But
yeah,
but you know, but either way, I just think it's always a hard journey, and my 13-year-old self would be stoked.
What do you think is some tools you could give to other creatives on their journey to either start their company or make their movie or do their creative venture? Like, what are some things you think they should be thinking about, some ways they can think outside the box to help themselves considering everything you're saying?
Well, I think it's really important. What I love is doing morning pages every morning to just sort of write and get centered. And these morning pages generally sort of become a to-do list of both what I need to do at home and what I need to do for work. But what they do is it's like a self check-in. So you're like tapping into where you're at, and you don't get to do that so much with yourself. And so it really helps you analyze like what you need to do, gets you creative. And it's really important to do that before you get on your phone. Because getting on your phone, you get sucked into like, I feel like a rat race of your day, and you're not, and it feels like you're less in control of your own destiny. These morning pages really help me feel like I'm in control of my own destiny. And then the other thing that I think is really important is to maintain a positive energy, because this is so fucking hard. It's so fucking hard. And of course, there's so many reasons why it can't work. But if you just fall into those, then you're not going to get started because it's really hard. Yeah. And the last thing I would suggest is just be fucking water. When one door closes, just open another and just keep hunting for the cracks and you'll find your way through.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Okay, and my last question is there any way you feel you have been able to greenlight yourself or create your own opportunity that you think could be interesting or inspiring to other people?
Yeah, well, everything we've greenlit together. So there's nothing I've greenlit myself. Yeah. We've done it all, but we have done it all ourselves. So all the projects I've pitched to date, and I'm saying to date because, you know, things can change at any time and you got to stay positive. But the projects I've pitched to date have not been the ones that get greenlit. The ones that get greenlit are the ones where we are the train and make it happen ourselves. Yeah. And that's where I've found is the really exciting place to play, because you don't know exactly where you're going next. But when you do something else will happen. Something always does.
Something will happen. Something always does.
A little get into the Greek action.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, not really.
Do you want to shout out where people can find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me at DL Dagerman on Instagram, or High Concept Entertainment, or Space Weed Universe, or at Two Hands Productions with the number 2.
Perfect.
And You, Me, and Her movie. So,
yes.
Very important.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very cool. And you want to tell everybody where they can watch your movie that you directed, You, Me, and Her?
Oh, yeah. And please check out You, Me, and Her. You can watch it on Amazon, iTunes, Kinema, and Google Play right now, and it's coming out on Stars at the beginning of September. So thank you for that, and thank you for the show.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Good.
And thank you so much for tuning in on Be the Train, and very excited for everything Dan is building and all the things we built together. Thanks for tuning in.
And to all the stuff we will build together. Pat.
Hey.